everybody. My name is Alan, and on behalf of my co-host Wastansi and the crew of this show, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. I mean, I say this every week, but tonight is really a spectacular show. People are starting to wonder, but I think if you watched our last 25 shows, that really a lot of them have been awfully wonderful shows, and we've been really just blessed to be part of them. And tonight we have two people who've collaborated on a book, which I think is basically, the title of the book is really the theme of the show. It's Art, Angels, and Miracles, and we're going to have some incredible art, some incredible stories about miracles and angels, and just really just uplifting, beautiful things. I mean, Andy Lakey is just one of the most incredible, gifted artists, and he really experiences it as a gift and as a blessing in his life, and an amazing story how the whole process started. And Paul Robert Walker, who worked on this book with him, they're here with us tonight, and just have incredible stories and just wonderful tales of art, angels, and miracles. And we also have our resident angel with us tonight to sing a few songs, Abigail, who just really uplifts the show and just uplifts everybody's lives who she comes in contact with, so we really feel blessed to have her here. So, as we usually do at this time, Wastansia leads us in an invocation and a meditation. So, Wastansia.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we come together this night, sons and daughters of God, and we ask for a special blessing tonight to somehow come before Father, Mother, God and have our hearts opened even more than ever before. And tonight, we ask for a special downpouring of light. We ask for a special shower of light all around us, wherever we are, whether we're at home or in the studio or wherever this show is being watched. And whatever time, we ask to be out of time and out of space and just into love. And let the love pour through now. And we call forth for an exiotonal alignment, asking that all of our energies be hooked up with the greater energies of our greater body, and that the greater flame that is our I Am presence be connected and merged with the lesser flame that is our soul and is our personality and our physical body. And we ask that somehow this night that we could all know ourselves one step deeper, who we truly are, and the magnificent beings, the divine beings living on the earth. And we ask for a descension now of the ascension energies to come forth through our crown, and we ask that they fill us up and lift our consciousness, for that is what this time is about. And we ask now and call forth all of our angels that work with us, and we ask for the blessings and the radiance and guidance of the archangels, asking for the protection of Michael in this room, always in our lives, and the resurrecting energies of Lord Gabriel, and the light of Metatron. We ask for the restructuring of all of our bodies of light by Lord Metatron, asking that the 12 strands of DNA come now into the etheric body and then into the physical, so that we can become those beings of light that we truly are destined to become on earth. And we call forth also on this night to the Ascended Masters, those beings of light on the ascended realms, who teach us and guide us on our own path into our own positions as ascending masters. And we call forth to the universal levels of light and the galactic levels of light, and our sisters and brothers all around us in other star systems. And we call mostly tonight to our own great selves, to that Christed over-self that we are growing into more and more every day. We ask to be merged with our presence, with our God presence, and merged with this Christed heart, asking for the office of the Christ to come and help us in that illumination and in that blossoming into the Christ that we are. And tonight I would like to also have the privilege of calling forth the angels that came to Andy Lakey and changed his life completely. All of those angels, that some of them may even be pictured here tonight, but the energy of that kingdom we call forth into our hearts and into our rooms to experience. And we ask that all of our angels, if they can just step closer so that we can start to feel them even more, wherever you are, just open up and ask, and you'll receive the energy and the presence and love of the angels. And so we ask tonight to join angel kingdom and human kingdom, animal, plant, and mineral, all the kingdoms on this great earth. And we ask for the divine energies of our Mother, of Mother Earth, to also be blessed and be with us. Let us all bring in the transmissions of the higher realms and bring them and let them seep through us into the earth as our gift back to her for supporting us. And so we call forth the higher rays and the higher chakras and all of the higher light of our own beingness, and ask that it join heart to heart with each other and with our earth and with all the animals and beautiful devas that reside on our planet. And so maybe you can just join with me. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that, and just send your light like just like a roots of a tree or something. Just send your light down through your body by your intention. Just send it down and connect it with the planet, with the core of the planet, where there's a crystal in the center of the earth. And then send your light out as a director, just sending your light up through your body, into your I Am presence, up into the higher realms, all the way to the God presence that you are and the Godhead. And then together we'll come into quiet and peace, asking for the peace of God to enter our own temples, which are our holy bodies. Thank you very much. It feels so wonderful in here. It just feels so incredibly perfect and beautiful in here. And there's a lot of special blessings that are contributing to that tonight, because we have some angels that are present in this room tonight that are actually moving through some of the paintings. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but I'm actually sitting here with one of them. I can't keep quiet about it. So there's an angel here that Andy Lakey brought forth, and it's emanating an energy, and it's filling the room. It's filling this room. Anyway, let's just get started right away and turn it over to Abigail. Abigail will be singing a really beautiful song, and I think Staring at the Stairs. And whenever you're ready, just take it away, Abby, our angel.
Sometimes I place myself upon a shelf so high of where I cannot reach, until I try, and as I clear my shelf I find some reason why I'm sitting on a shelf above myself, at myself upon a shelf. that's new. They brought me to be sitting on a shelf above myself.
Yeah, I never know what to say after Abby sings the song because it's like, you know, we really do go out of time and out of space, and it's such a blessing. It's so, you know, as many times as Abigail has been on this show, she's never sung the same song twice, and she's always just written them, and she doesn't even write them down. You know, she remembers them. It's just amazing. I'm just amazed. That's a great one. Anyway, I'm totally excited because I'm sitting here with Andy Lakey and Paul Robert and the angel. And boy, you know, I've been waiting for a few months for this.
Well, thanks for having us.
You are so welcome. And I just really would like you to start off. I know we have a lot of things that we're going to talk about, but if you could just tell the story of that 1986, that special year of New Year's, and just kind of go into that whole thing for our audience.
For many years I was involved with drugs. That started when I was a child in the 7th grade, and I was a lost soul. And it continued through my high school years, and then it continued into the days when I joined the Navy, until eventually I got out of the Navy and a group of friends. We were very irresponsible. We kind of lived a life of self-destruction. Looking back then, I didn't realize that.
Seemed like fun at the time.
It did. seemed like a lot of fun,
Right.
and you know, and until New Year's Eve, 1986.
Right.
That's when the fun stopped, and I was freebasing cocaine. And one of the reasons I like to tell my story now, I started telling the story 2 years ago, is I like to talk to the children of America, really children of the world, that were in the same situation I was in, because nobody would help me back then. And I was freebasing cocaine, and I was very nervous because I thought I was going to die. And I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to ask my friends, call 911, I'm having a problem. So I chickened out. I went down the stairs to my own apartment, them not knowing that I was having a problem, and that's when I collapsed into my apartment and I crawled to the shower.
You knew, though.
Oh,
you knew something was.
Oh, I knew I was going to die.
You knew you were transitioning or something.
I knew I was going to. I chickened out. I would have rather died alone than somebody help me.
Right.
And the analogy I use is you've probably heard of somebody choking to death in a restaurant, but they find him in the bathroom. So too embarrassed to ask for help in a crowded restaurant.
Right.
And that's the kind of analogy I like to share with people. I look back now, how foolish. And I didn't have to go through all that.
Our embarrassment is more oppressive than death. I mean, that is really pathetic.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is pathetic.
I look back and I said, my goodness.
Well, we in a pitiful state.
So wait, so there you are, you're on the floor, whatever, somebody found you?
Well, I'm on the floor,
right.
And I fell into my front door, and thank goodness that front door, one of the synchronicities of the whole story is that front door was left wide open. If that door wasn't left open, I wouldn't be sitting with you today. Because I fell in, I didn't get back up to shut the door.
Right.
I made a beeline for the shower. I don't know why. Subconsciously, maybe I felt that the cold water would wake me up, and I got into the shower, and I turned the ice cold water on, and I remember, with my clothes on, I opened my shirt, and the ice water came in, and I prayed to God for the first time since I was 8 years old.
Yeah, I remember that in the book.
And it's easy to pray when you're in a desperate situation, but I said, hey, if there's any chance there's heaven out there.
What was your prayer?
The prayer I delivered was the prayer of an 8-year-old. God is good, God is great. I didn't know how, I really
really?
didn't know.
So in other words, like you had almost like skipped all those years.
Absolutely.
You went right back to the last time you were inspired.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. And that's the only prayer I could deliver.
Right.
Now my prayers are much different.
Right.
But back then I was in a I said, if I'm going to go to heaven and I'm going to die in any second here, I want to make sure I repent all my sins.
Right.
And I didn't collapse yet. And I continued to pray. Then I prayed to God that if He would let me live, I would never do drugs again. And I would do something to benefit people, to help humankind. And almost instantly, right on the bottom of my feet, I felt a twirling sensation. And just like you showed the painting earlier, this is what I felt, 7 angels with me. Now, they weren't the angels that you see in Bibles and some of the books with wings and halos.
Right.
These angels were just filled with all kinds of warm love, and they were twirling around me. And it's interesting, Paul has a wonderful way of writing, and he captured how I felt. I saw the water splattering around me in a circular motion with the angels in the shower. And it continued, and the angels kept going higher and higher until all 7 of them turned into one angel.
Oh, wow.
And then, like the arms you see in the painting, the arms came towards me, wrapped its arms around me, and lifted me out of my body. In the meantime, I go to the bottom of the shower. Okay?
Your body, your physical body.
Right, my body goes, and I go into another area, which I'll share with you in a little bit. The front door's left wide open.
Right.
My friend Mike, who never checks on me, just happens to be looking over the railing. What a coincidence. He sees the front door wide open. He goes down to investigate. Hearing the shower water on, I probably would have just shut the door. Figure my friend forgot to shut the door. He was pretty
But he probably figured you looked a little wasted. He had some sense that this guy didn't look just right.
So he went down. Instead of shutting the door, he went in and he found me in the bottom of the shower, and then he called 911. See, I could have skipped all that and just asked for help at the party.
Right.
And that's when they took me to the hospital. But in the meantime,
You may not have gotten the same help.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Everything happened for a reason.
Perfectly.
Just
Right.
it all just kind of laid in together. Well, in the meantime, I'm not conscious of what's going on here in the hospital. I'm in this other area of bright planets. You'll notice in most of my paintings, beams of light, bright planets, because where I went into is like you described earlier, like a kingdom. It was like something I've never even seen on TV before. But these figures, there was millions and millions of these figures getting inside tubes of light that were going towards bright planets. Now, I've read about near-death accounts since where people have gone down and saw the tunnel of light. I didn't experience that.
Right.
Because every time I tried to get into the tube, like these other angels, they were going into the tubes and in single file going up to the bright planet. As I tried to get in, I would bounce away.
Wow.
I kept bouncing away, and that's when I woke up in the hospital.
And so all of these circles around here are all different planetary spheres or someplace where angels were going or beings were going?
Yes, it's very difficult for me to create a painting what it looked like up there. I try my best. So I show different angles, like this would be a beam of light coming this way and a beam of light coming towards you. There were so many of these beams of light and so many bright planets that it really just filled the whole universe, the whole space I was in.
So it was like infinite. It was like as far as you could see, you saw all these beams.
And these beams of light, they were endless. It was like a straw of light going through the moon. It just went on until it intersected with another bright light. In fact, where there was no planets and no light was darkness.
Really?
Pitch black. It was beautiful.
I don't know, Paul, I don't know if it was your word calling them telephone poles or if it was your words, but I just love the way it was described in the book, where there were all these telephone poles of light.
I don't know if we made it clear, but they collaborate on this book.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've shown yet the book that's right here, Art, Angels, and Miracles, that has some incredible, stories and a lot of representations of Andy's work. That it is really an incredibly beautiful book. And some of the as they said before, we were talking about it, how Andy's the art and Paul is all the words. So if there's anything to do with words, speak to Paul.
Yes.
Well, talking about the tunnels of light, as long as we're talking about that, it struck me, I have studied near-death experiences a lot. I was very influenced.
Yeah, you've written other books about miracles and angels.
And I was influenced by Dr. Raymond Moody's first book, Life After Life, in 1975. That was what really turned me on to this whole concept that there was clearly a life after life.
Right.
And what struck me when I heard Andy describe his experience, when I first heard it, and as we talked about it more, was that whereas most people report an individual experience, meaning they are passing down a tunnel of light, what Andy saw was the classic artistic objective perspective. He was on the outside looking in and seeing thousands of tunnels of light. Andy calls them telephone poles of light, but they were tunnels because he speaks of seeing all these angels going through them, or soul forms, whatever, beings going through them. And it sounds to me like he was getting, it strikes me that Andy probably had one of the most phenomenal near-death experiences ever recorded. It was expansive. Yeah, he saw the big picture. He saw the mechanics of the universe. He saw the whole thing right
The way
there.
I look at it is that you were being prepared for your mission. And,
he was given the information he needed.
Sure.
He would have trouble doing these paintings if he hadn't seen them.
Looking now, sure, I understand the picture, but back then.
Back then you were a little frustrated that you weren't able to go into any of the poles. And,
very.
Yeah, and now, I'm so glad that you didn't.
And my two little girls are too.
Yeah,
and your wife.
Brand new babies,
So, and then you were given almost like, when you said, just tell me what I need to do, and then you were given almost specific instructions, right?
Almost. What happened is, from 1987 to 1990, I had no friends because everybody I knew was associated with drugs, and I was not.
You were in a transition.
I was in a transition.
I love this part. This is amazing.
And I literally had no family and no friends because I wasn't real close to my family, and all my friends, birds of a feather flock together. I had to get away from it.
Right.
So I had to.
If you were going to keep your promise, never do drugs
That's
again,
right.
you couldn't hang around with this crowd.
No way.
Right.
And so for the next 3 years, I continued to work, and instead of going home and freebasing and partying and wasting my life away, I would go home and draw drawings of my angels, kind of a diary. Not coming out.
The angels you saw that night.
In the shower, and then into the other dimension, and not telling anybody I had this angel experience. This is a very private record. In fact, you'll see that in the book, some of the early drawings, very crude original drawings, and then October '89, after almost 3 years of drawing these, I walk in my boss's office. I still didn't hear voices from angels at this point, but looking back, and I had to be guided.
Right.
I walk into my boss's office and I say, Mr. Harrison, I worked with you for many years and I thank you for the opportunity, but I'm going to give you a 2-week notice. I'm going to become an artist. And he laughed at me.
Right.
He probably thought you just don't become an artist.
He thought I was
You're are one or you're not.
He's doing drugs again. I knew
Exactly.
he'd fall back.
That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he asked.
Right, I know how. how minds think about these.
He said, "Are you doing drugs again?"
Right. Come on, Andy.
And we had a company medical.
We'll hold the job open for you for 2 weeks. Don't worry. Go out here, take
I
it.
know. That's kind of where he was
Right.
at. And he laughed at me and he said, "Do you have any art training?" And I said, "No." And he knew who I was.
Right.
And he really thought I was doing drugs, or he wanted me to. He thought I was having a midlife crisis. He
Right.
wanted me to see the company psychiatrist.
Right.
He went
No, he
on a-
really cared about you. He thought you were losing your banana.
And I
Right?
made him a lot of money.
Do you see him
too.
now? Do you see
No,
him
he
now?
passed away.
Oh,
And I know
it's
he's
going to be an
watching.
interesting story.
He went through one.
I know
Right,
he's
he's
watching
a-
this whole. Exactly.
Right.
He's watching this whole event.
Right.
He's
And
with
now
us
he knows
watching.
what it's all about.
Yeah, he's probably here tonight.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
You called him in. Andy's old boss.
I think it's really fascinating in the book the way you were talking about Andy as this divine doodler. You know, like you didn't just. Like you really doodled all your life.
Yes.
It's like how many people can actually say that they doodled all their life, like really intricate doodling, like all through school and everything, and that was all part of it somehow.
It's all part of the entire plan.
What's
love that.
fascinating though, and I mean, obviously, I wasn't there to watch this while I was growing up, but this is what
You
I've
feel
what
like
I've
you
learned.
were.
Well, I feel like I have
You
now.
spent so much time with his life.
Writing
story.
someone's life, I feel like I lived it.
He knows me better than I know myself.
I know all kinds of things about him that he doesn't know. But no, but this was a guy who was just driven to doodle. I mean, he was just always
Isn't that amazing?
doodling, and he never wanted.
love
He
it.
never wanted to actually draw anything, though. That's what's fascinating. Just this compulsion
To
to put
doodle.
lines on paper.
Amazing.
Now, what is one of the greatest strengths of Andy's art today is his work with lines. You know, I mean, and this guy's been working on it for 20 years. You know,
Right, he's been made ready for that, for lines.
But isn't it true? You told me that you never actually tried to represent something.
I couldn't.
I mean-
I tried and I couldn't.
It just didn't happen.
Even my parents would say, "Why are you wasting? What are you doing? Go get a
Right.
job or,
You know,
or
we've
go to
had-
mow the lawn." You know?
Andy, we have had a lot of artists, some of which you know, on this show. But like, I have never. I mean, angel artists.
Yes.
I have never seen anything like these drawings. I mean, they are so amazing. There's two things. Like they don't look like anything anyone else.
Yeah, they're
does.
kind of like
They're
Barbara
so
Streisand
unique.
singing. You know,
They're like
they don't look like
Abigail.
anybody else.
They're like-
Yeah, they just.
And they're also the only art forms that I have ever experienced that actually emanate in essence. I mean, when I came into the gallery in Ventura, I took my hand. I mean, I wanted to see for real, you know.
She was testing
I
you.
walked along like this all along the wall before I went over to you, and I was blown away because there was such a warmth coming out of them. You know, it was truly amazing. And I showed this to Abigail before the show, and she felt it immediately. And she said she felt like the angel was totally enfolding her, like holding her. And you know, we were. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. That was so amazing.
I mean, you just feel really blessed that you were a vehicle for that kind of gift. I mean, that people are experiencing healings from some of the paintings, and I mean, it's just, in a way, it's really humbling for you, isn't it?
It's very interesting. Ever since 1990, when I did quit my job, and then I finally was guided to this little homemade studio I made. In fact, the first studio I designed, I didn't know how to design a studio. So a friend of mine, we went and got art books to see what studios looked like. That's how we built the studio.
Pictures are. Like you figure out meditating, you did it like the pictures.
Right.
Were there any artists though that you actually did like or had a feeling about?
Well, after I got hit by the ball of light and I received the instructions, I was guided to go. The first instruction was go buy a couch. Go buy a couch.
Because your couch is shabby, we don't want to be sitting.
I don't think we've explained about the ball of light. Maybe we
Yeah.
should
Talk about the ball of
Yeah,
light.
let's talk
Okay.
about that.
To me,
You know,
that's
with
the-
this specific.
That's kind of where the story
right,
begins.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the amazing
specific.
part,
The ball of light. I went and talked to my boss in October of '89, and he said, "You don't need a 2-week notice. You can leave today." But he left the door wide open.
Right.
He said, well, "You're welcome. Come
Yeah,
back." Maybe
we care about you and
Right.
do what you got to do.
He thought I was probably going to go party and come back in 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
And no, what I did is I had a new crop of friends, we'll call it, new motivational type of friends. I told all of them about what I was going to do, and they all thought I lost my mind, so I had no friends again. So,
Right.
except for Dominic Mangello, who was in the military with me, and he said, well, let's go build an art studio, and I described how we did that process. We went to an art store and bought art books, and by the way, I told the manager I just became an artist, and he sold me $6,000 worth of art supplies.
Right.
So
I got a green sucker on my head. He's going to pay my mortgage, this guy.
Exactly. But I could not paint.
Right.
Every time I tried to take the paint brush to the paint, I tried to paint. I could not create it, until one day I was guided down to the studio, and simply I turned on the radio, I felt so wonderful that day. I can't explain it. I feel good every day now, but that day was like I was walking on clouds.
Right.
I went down to the studio and a little beam of light, a little ball of light hit me in the forehead and surrounded my body. Now, I didn't receive messages and cures for diseases and all kinds of things that are going to happen in the future, but I did receive 3 messages. They wanted me to paint 2,000 angel paintings by the year 2000. They would bring people to me to teach me to paint, and they would bring people to me in order to take me where I needed to go. And the way I explain that so people understand is you can't get anywhere without people.
Right.
So people have come into my life since then and have really...
Like dominoes, one after the other.
And the very first thought is, I wanted to buy a couch.
You know, you can't make this stuff up. I just want
No,
to
it's,
know.
yeah, it is. I mean, people are
ask-
watching the show, but, you know, their show has been a little kooky for a long time. Now they really got to...
But people ask me when I first started working with Andy, you know, I mean, how do you know this is true? Well, I mean, you're going to start your artistic career by buying a couch.
Right.
Only angels would make you do that.
Loony.
Yeah, I think
it's too loony. It's too unreasonable.
Yeah.
And the things that happen, though, if I would have had a sales force of thousands of people, and we tried to do it, couldn't duplicate what the couch did that night. Because I went to buy a couch.
Andy, you're so funny.
It's true, though. It's so funny. Paul wrote the book. He kind of gets me to chuckle. And Paul's doing all the research and interviewing all the people and What happens is I go down to buy the couch. I don't need a couch. But above the couch, I see the most beautiful painting I've ever seen in my life. In fact, it's in the book. I've never seen a painting before. I was guided to go see this painting.
That's amazing.
And I asked the manager of the store, I said, who's this artist? If I could only paint like that, I told myself, instead of trying to do this, I would be satisfied. So he gave me the number of Roger Hinojosa in Sedona, Arizona. And I called Roger and I said, Roger, I just became an artist today. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, get a straight jacket.
What did he say?
He didn't laugh.
No, that's...
He's one of the few people that didn't laugh.
Right.
And if I did not go look for that couch, we wouldn't have this technique right here. Because Roger told me to buy a brand of paint, not knowing I just spent $6,000 in supplies.
Right.
He said, you need to conserve your money, buy this brand of paint. And so he gave me the name of the company, and what I did is I ordered the paint. And later on in the week, when I tried to paint with this paint, it wasn't working. I accidentally spilled this paint he told me to buy into the other paint I was using at the other art store. Instead of cleaning the whole mess up at that moment, the next day I came back, and where the 2 paints have collided, it created this texture.
Aww.
Everything else flattened out.
That's so sweet.
That's amazing.
It's more than sweet.
What amazes me, though, more than any of this, is the power of the universe, is because I have tried to mix literally 20 or 30 different combinations of acrylic paint. Nothing works except for these 2 paints.
Really?
That's it. Nothing else works.
Everything
It's
just
just
fell
so
into
perfect.
place for you.
And there it is. And so Roger and the couch brought me my art.
So, and it's hard for you to take credit.
I don't take
Right, I mean, it
I
would be
don't.
like, it'd be so ludicrous because all these, like, miracles just, you know, and things happen just one right after the other.
Oh, and one of Paul's favorites is right after I finished my first 4 paintings, we took it to the bank. And that's another synchronicity.
Well, you should tell the story because it's amazing. You did it.
Well, what happens is I found the new technique. I took all the art supplies back. I didn't need those. I needed these 2 paints. That's all I needed. And the only way I can explain it to you is I don't paint these paintings. It just happened. No angels with me again in the room.
And you're up to 1450 of happenings, right?
Now.
Of the 2000. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And what happened is I finished 4 paintings. I went across the street to the bank and I asked the bank manager if I could hang one of the paintings in the bank. And she said, sure. Within an hour I was there, hung a painting in the bank, and within another hour, one of the most famous and highly respected art collectors from Canada just happened to walk in the bank.
Come on.
I love
You're
that.
making
I love
that.
that.
Just
And this bank is where? It's not a
right,
big bank
right
in
across
New
the
York.
street from my...
Right, and where? I mean,
in
just a
San
little...
Diego.
In San Diego.
Right across the
Who
street.
would've thought
Right.
in a bank?
And, you know,
Who would've thought?
let's slow down and have a reality check here too.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
you're
Why?
just
We
kind
haven't had
of you're
one
just
in about
kind of you're just kind of
13
going along,
weeks.
you're just kind of going along like, you know, oh yeah, so you hung in a bank. How many artists make 4 paintings and decide they have to go hang them in a bank?
I know. Right.
It's like the
Yeah,
strangest
guided,
thing
guided.
I've
I mean,
ever
yeah,
heard.
right.
And it totally, this guy came in and, you know, apparently stood there and looked for an hour at his paintings, was just staring at it, then called an art dealer in San Diego who was Oxford-educated, Metropolitan Museum of Art background. I mean, you know, just really a very highly
Right.
respected person, asked her to go check this guy out. you know, and find out if he was some kind of maniac or not, you know.
Yeah, where he got this.
Well, no, because he wanted him to come up and do a commission in Canada, and he wanted to bring him to his house, and he was, you know, just
right. He just went crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, he went.
Who was this guy?
This is so incredible. I've never seen.
This man just made like 4 paintings.
Right.
And what I find interesting is Pierre Van Cleef, who is Oxford
this is the art dealer,
educated and works at the Metropolitan Museum. She doesn't even review blue chip artists. We're talking about serious major artists, and I haven't even sold a painting yet. I have no resume.
Right.
She comes over to the studio and she sees me painting in my little garage. Now, this is a woman that has been to major studios, you know, the big lofts, and she sees me painting in the garage, and Dominic's in there writing poetry on the wall, and in fact, she actually said this.
It's like a post-hippie loony bin or something.
No, she thought there were two. No, she thought there were 2 Elvis impersonators trying to
that's what she said.
Make great art. They both had their hair slicked back.
She said she almost drove right by.
Didn't
even want to get out because
right.
here she is. She's educated in art, Metropolitan Museum, and she sees this guy creating art in a little garage.
Right. It can't be.
It can't be.
Right. It's unreasonable.
But this collector, this guy from Canada, wants
who had
a
enough,
painting.
right, and she had enough respect for him, that she stopped.
So she gets out and she goes, "What is this stuff?" She goes, "What is this?" And she is the one. If she didn't come over, see, during my experience, people would come. I wouldn't be with you today because she discovered me.
Well, if she wouldn't, maybe, you know.
Well, of course,
yeah, right,
of course.
Right.
But I'll use her because she is the one who said, "Andy, talk about interesting for me, Paul."
Yeah.
She said, "Andy, have you ever thought about sharing art for the blind?" She's the one who gave me the idea. And what's more interesting is when we wrote the book, I didn't know this, but she was a teacher in an elementary school like 5 or 6 years before, and a blind student took a class with her, and she was teaching the blind boy how to work with sand and acrylic.
Right.
She said, "I promise you one day I will bring art to the blind throughout the world." He passed away a year later, and look what happened. I needed her, and she needed me at that exact moment. Fulfill her
really
promise. So this is...
Andy was the vehicle, you know, for her to keep her promise, and of course she was a vehicle to bring Andy's art to the world, or to.
Now, people are receiving healings from these paintings, aren't they? I mean, and they're.
I mean, that's been.
I mean, people can, you know, I know that's.
A lot of.
You have to be careful what you say.
Well, in fact, in the book, I explained that these are paintings to me. See, these are just paintings, acrylic and wood, but the stories keep coming. And what I say these are, and Paul will give you his interpretation, and other people, in fact, we're talking about some well-known people, and you know, that are involved in healings. I say these paintings are a catalyst to open up people's spiritual doors. And if you can tune in, like laser beam on your own spirituality, magical things will happen. But the stories keep coming. And Paul has an interesting take on that. Some very interesting stories. I don't kind of get in that too much. Let's create the paintings.
Let's have a song from Abigail,
and
then we'll come back to that, because she always gets us into that
Gets us
next
going.
angelic stage. So whenever we're ready for Abigail, take it away.
In the waters of life, where we choose to live, no harm we give, yes we give. Our tribes travel wide under the waves we ride, each as all abide as one, as all. Youth for
so much. Oh, that was really amazing. I thank you so much, Abby. I always
We're
think
trying to
of-
keep her in town so she can come on the show every time we have
Really?
this show. She wants to stay, but she might move. It depends what happens. So we can try to convince her to stay. So we can have a resident angel on the show.
I always think of dolphins as angels in the water. That's the way it seems. And you know, the way you make the angels, it looks like the little flippers. They really do. They do. And this could be almost like a water picture, you know, with them coming up. You know, when she was singing, I was glancing over at this one painting, a picture of yours, you know, with the ball of light and all the angels coming in. It was moving. I was seeing them moving, like, you know, maybe. Yes,
Shaking.
Absolutely. There's such a vibration with your work.
Shimmering almost is the
Yeah,
sense
it was
I
really,
get. You
it's
know,
really amazing. So people just started finding out about you. Like, there's a lot of famous people, like
The Pope.
presidents,
The Pope
and
has it.
that just
Right.
found, you know.
It just-
Jimmy Carter and the
Just like
Pope
found out
Just
about-
like the couch, it just all
happened.
just happened. Like created the. You know, if I hung that painting in the bank 1 hour later, well, I would
Right.
have never been exposed to Pierre Van Cleef.
How'd the Pope get it?
Well, Pierre Van Cleef had a great idea. She wanted to put me on TV, and what she did is she called a local television station, ABC, and she called me one day without me asking her to do this. ABC is going to come to your studio tomorrow. They're going to film you. Then we're going to go to a gallery. Then we're going to have some blind adults touch your paintings, and that's what happened.
I've seen that video. It's a beautiful video.
And as a result of that, the exposure kept going and growing, and a local gallery wanted an exhibition. And from that exhibition, it just happened. One of the Monsignors was across the street shopping for suits,
Oh my, real.
and who came to the
Close
exhibition, and he wanted to take a picture to send it to the Pope. And then it just happened in the same shop, Ray Charles' agent was there. So he came over and introduced us to Ray the next day in San Diego. And that just kind of kept going and going. Yeah, so there's a lot of, the first couple of years I painted a lot of famous people, presidents and royal families, got the paintings, but now I've kind of shifted away from that ever since I told my story, because when they were buying the paintings and acquiring the paintings, I didn't mention my angel experience. This all happened in the last 2 years.
Right.
And when River Phoenix died, I felt that I really owe it to tell as many people as I can about the drugs.
Terrible stuff.
And even if it meant that all the galleries I'd built at that point, hey, he did drugs and stuff, we don't want to, I said, fine.
He's a bad citizen, or he was a bad citizen.
You know, it actually had the opposite effect. And, you know, it does show something very positive about the American people, that the American people are really more forgiving than we give ourselves credit for sometimes. You know, and I think when Andy came out and told his story, obviously it just gave it greater depth.
Right.
And I mean, one of the things that drew me to this story at the beginning was the fact that it's a story of incredible personal transformation. You
Right.
know,
How did you guys hook up? That's another like kind of
it's an amazing
miracle
story.
story.
It's an
Same
amazing
as
story.
Right.
snowball keeps going.
Well, I was writing a book called Every Day's a Miracle.
Right.
And it's a collection of brief stories of people who have experienced miracles. And when I was first asked to write that book, I went to the library to do some research, and I had to put together a proposal, which is basically
Right,
what you
right,
have to do
right,
when you
exactly.
write a book. And I found a story in Red Book magazine about a woman named Chantal Lakey, who had had an incredible angel experience on a cliff in Oregon, who was hiking with her fiancé, and her fiancé had fallen to his death, and she was
Right.
saved by angels that came to her in a mist. And I thought it was the perfect story. It was the kind of story I wanted to tell in
Right.
my book, because it was contemporary, it was
Right.
dramatic,
Right.
and it was non-sectarian, and it was just
Right.
all the things I wanted.
Yeah, it had all the.
So I used it in my proposal based on what I had read in Red Book, thinking that I would get in touch with her if I actually used it for the book.
Right, if they gave you the money
right,
to do it.
Right, exactly. Well, they did give me the money,
Right,
and I was writing
right.
the book, and I got very involved in it, and there were a lot of stories in the book, and I made several efforts to contact this Chantal Lakey, and she lived in Murrieta, California, which is right up the road from me. I live in Escondido, San Diego County. But her number was unlisted, you know, and I contacted Red Book and finally talked to the woman who had written the article.
Right.
All her numbers were no good for Chantal, and
Right.
basically I was at a dead end.
Right.
And I mean, what could I do? Go to Murrieta, stand on the street, and scream Chantal Lakey. So
You looked in the phone book, right?
no, she wasn't there. So anyway, what happened was, I basically kind of put it on the back burner. I was working on other miracle stories.
Right.
A lot of miracles out there.
Yeah, right.
And 9 months later, after I had first found this story, I was drawing near the end of the project, and I pulled up this story on my computer screen, truthfully, for the first time in 9 months that I'd even looked at this. And I was looking at it, and I was thinking, well, can I ethically and morally tell this story based on the information I have? I had permission from the author at Red Book,
right,
but it was secondhand, and
right.
you know, what can I do? And I'm looking at it, I'm just kind of puzzling over this. The phone rings, and it's my editor at another publishing house in a completely different book. We talked for an hour on the other book, you know, just a completely different subject. As I'm hanging up the phone, it's actually like on the cradle, I have a second thought, and I think, oh, let me ask her. And I said, by the way, did you ever get the letter I sent to you looking for miracle stories? Because I had sent letters to all my friends and acquaintances. And she said, yeah, didn't Andy Lakey ever call you? and I said, Andy Lakey? Is he married to a woman named Chantal Lakey? And she said, yeah, I know them both. It turned out that my editor on this completely other project knew Andy and his wife Chantal. And I didn't know anything about Andy except at the very end of the Red Book story, it was just, she's married to this guy who's a painter now and has a painting in the Vatican. That's what I knew. But anyway, she put me in touch with them, and basically, within a couple of weeks, we had gotten together and talked, and we were on the road to working on this book.
That's
and
amazing.
if I had hung up the phone,
right.
she would never have told me.
Right.
But what was really amazing is her story was on the screen at the moment she told me that.
It all just comes.
Right.
Once you find that purpose.
So tell me what's happening for you now. I understand you got some new mission
information.
instructions, or you had another meeting with your angels, or what's in store?
Well, I haven't actually had another meeting, but I have another 550 paintings to create. Just came back from Egypt and created 2,000 angel drawings on the original Egyptian papyrus paper in the Queen's Chamber. And I'm looking forward till the year 2000 when I finish the last painting, and it's really exciting. And the book, I've been on book tour for about 2 months, so that's what's actually happening today.
But I heard something that there was something about giving some of these doodlings and drawings to people, you know, that there was some more further. Have I gotten information that you haven't gotten yet? Or
Actually, the papyrus?
There was something that Keith, you know, from the Angel Store said that there was some new instructions about.
Oh yes. What I did is
you were making me think that Alzheimer's was really coming.
Marianne Williamson, which you probably know.
Right, she lives in town.
Yeah, she was in Egypt with me, and some of the times I was creating the drawing, she was doing meditations in another part of the pyramid, and I had these 2,000 pieces of papyrus I didn't know what to do with. There's a market value to them.
Right.
But I really didn't want to sell them. So what I decided to do is everybody who bought one of my paintings from 1990 to 1996, many collectors, 1,400, 1,300 collectors, that all have paintings, for example, like Angel 499, 1312. I decided I really wanted to use these to raise money for children. And so I decided to give them all away to the corresponding number of the collectors. I mean, this came out of nowhere for a lot of these collectors.
Exactly.
I can't believe I received this.
Well, all of a sudden I got another thing at the mail.
For no charge. I don't.
Great.
But what I did is I left a seed in their mind as I wanted them to work with their favorite children's charity.
Right.
They can donate money or volunteer time. Not requiring them to do that, just plant that seed.
Right.
So all 2,000 of these are given away to all the 2,000 collectors.
Right, that's what I heard. That's,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's such a beautiful
I wonder if
thing.
we have just a couple of minutes left. Can you talk about your 7 lessons, Andy Lakey's lessons?
Yes.
The Lakey lessons.
Really?
Yes.
Because they're really wonderful, wonderful things to share.
Like I said, in previous 1986, I was almost like a loser. I didn't know anything about life, anything about philosophy, and I didn't know anything about lesson number 1, love and compassion. And I've learned a lot about love and compassion, and now I have made my own family. I'm married, and I have 2 wonderful children, and I know what it's like to give and receive love. And lesson number 2 that I learned of the power of prayer, obviously it started in the shower that evening.
Yeah.
And
Well, it probably started a long time before that. But
yes, well, up till the time I was 8 years old. But now prayer is part of my life, and I know how powerful prayer and meditation really is. And number 4, words have wings. And I'll tell you what, Paul interviewed me. I'll let Paul tell you a little bit about some of these lessons that.
Words have wings?
Yeah.
We just have a few
Words have
minutes,
wings,
real
don't say those
quickly.
things? Well, I think the other side is words have wings, say good things, you know,
Right.
and that every time you speak, you're putting out energy into the universe.
Absolutely.
And then there's visualization, and there are no coincidences, and the giving is one of my most important lessons. The more you give, the more you receive, the more you can give. And I find that the more, we were just talking about that a moment ago, is you just give, and things, magical things will happen. And the last lesson is live in the moment. Sure, I plan for the future a little bit, but
Right.
you know, I don't live in the future.
It's the only place we're really alive. It's
That's
right
right.
here and now, so I need
Exactly.
to wait. It's not a good idea.
You know, one of the things that working with Andy has really taught me is watching him pay attention to the guidance that he has given. You see, we are all given guidance,
Right.
but Andy has learned to really pay attention to that.
Do you think you have to be quiet? I mean, it has to be like coming from a quiet place to move with the guidance, wouldn't you say? I mean, to be open.
He's not quiet.
Yeah, I've been quiet. I kept it
Angels have to
quiet for
tackle
many
you.
years.
I'm just
Sure.
Sure, but that's
no,
true.
he's
But I'm
joking.
not. I'm, you know. But I think we all have it, and we all have these miracles around every one of us. Like I wrote in the introduction of the book, every one of us could write a book. We all have a magical story.
Absolutely.
We all do. And I was very flattered to have Paul even ask if he could
Right.
submit the proposal.
Right.
And but we all have that around us. All we have to do is open and accept it and allow it to come in. And miracles happen in everyone's life. Some people don't even realize they're happening.
I always say that, you know, we're hurtling through space on a ball. What's reasonable? I mean, what is reasonable? If you start out from that premise,
Right.
that.
And
you know, what's reasonable and what's unreasonable? I mean, it's like, hello?
I like
It's just hurtling. You know,
And
it's
I'm
like, the
beginning-
whole thing is so
I'm beginning to
unreasonable.
not
Yeah,
even
it is.
Yeah.
look at things as miracles,
Right.
almost as, because there's so many, you know, that almost, and we're so divine, like we're looking for divine experiences and
Right.
spiritual experiences, and then now what we're really seeing is that we are divine beings and miracles, you know, and power and love and all of that, you know, wisdom. That's really our divine nature, and so we're really moving into who we really are.
And look at-
everything's
And look at this. I mean,
Everything's
look at this. This
divine.
is a miracle. I had a critic ask me, is this angels could be real? And I said, look at this. I said, if
Yeah,
I was a
look-
computer
Right.
and if I was going to invent the human body or an angel, what would be easier?
Right. Could
Look
I
at this.
create?
Look at this
Well, we
miracle.
look at it
so
in the mirror.
sweet.
Right?
We are.
So-
We need to really love ourselves.
So just, you know, thanks everybody for, I mean, I don't know, this has just been such
Thank
an
you so
incredible
much.
show.
Thank you,
Thank you
so
for having
much,
us.
You
both
know,
of
thank
you.
you very much.
All of
And
you.
if
Please
anybody,
be well.
and if anybody wants any information, give me a call. You'll see it at the end. Good night. God bless you.